Hi guys, welcome back to my series on writing. In today's lesson, I'm going to share with you some tips on how to write a graph description. As you know, there are two different categories of graphs and charts. The first one is dynamic graphs and the second one is static graphs. Dynamic graphs are ones focusing on changes over time, and static graphs show no reference to changes over time. And today's tutorial focuses on static graphs. Many of my students find it much more difficult to write a graph description than write an argumentative essay. It is understandable that they have difficulty writing a graph description because they don't know how to read the graph, and they don't have the vocabulary, they don't know how to paraphrase, they don't know how to use synonym in order to write a graph description. So now let's come to the structure of a graph description. Generally, there are three paragraphs. The first one is the introduction. Like an argumentative essay, the introduction is used to paraphrase the general statement. Now have a look at this sample question. The table shows confirmed cases and deaths by country on March the 23rd, 2020. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparison where relevant. For this question, the general statement is the table shows confirmed cases and deaths by country on March the 23rd, 2020. And your task is to paraphrase this general statement. And then we come to the second paragraph, that is the overview. The listener wants to have a general picture of the graph. So in the overview, you have to analyze the picture and show the listener the similarities, the noticeable differences, the highest, lowest value, or significant exceptions. For example, now let's have a look at this table. For this table, what is the similarity? So you can see that all the 6 countries here have new cases and new deaths on this particular day. That is the similarities. How about the differences? The differences are that some countries had massive numbers, but others have smaller numbers. For example, China had the biggest total cases, but Italy had the biggest numbers of new cases and new deaths. So you have to show the listener the differences, the noticeable differences, the similarities. The highest value, for example, 8,894 total cases for China, but Italy registered the biggest number of new cases and new deaths. So those are the things you should include in the overview. But remember, do not include numbers or figures. Just write something in general about the similarities or noticeable differences. Let's move on to the detailed paragraphs. Generally, there are 2 detailed paragraphs. It depends on how you group the data. Because the requirements is summarizing the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparison where relevant. You shouldn't list all the numbers or figures in this table. You have to select Select the most noticeable ones, select the highest values, select the lowest values, and you have to group the data. For this particular table, how can we group the data? There are two choices. For example, you can group three countries, Iran, Spain, Germany, because they have somehow the same numbers of total cases. Or you can group Spain, Germany, and the USA because they have the same, somehow similar numbers of new cases. Another important thing is you have to give specific data, but by giving specific details, you have to show relations between, for example, between these countries. You have to compare and contrast the data. And in the sample answer for this question, I'm going to show you how to compare and contrast data and how to group data. So you see that is a sample answer for this question. And let's see how I have paraphrased the question. The table gives data on coronavirus-related cases and deaths in 6 countries on March the 18th, 2020. For the overview, I start with overall. It is clearly seen that, and you see I have chosen to put in the similarities and the differences in this overview. The similarity is all the 6 countries had new cases and new deaths, with Italy being the most severely affected country outside of China. And then I chose to write 2 detailed paragraphs, and let's see how I group the data. Now let's have a look at the picture, the data, the table again. For this table, I group China and Italy into one group, into one paragraph, because China had the biggest number of total cases all over the world, and Italy had the biggest total cases outside of China. So I chose to put these 2 countries into one group. In detail, China was hardest hit, with more than 80,000 people testing positive for coronavirus, which was more than double the figure for Italy, the country with the second highest number of coronavirus cases. However, China also registered the smallest number of new cases and new fatalities, at 13 and 11 respectively, as opposed to the massive figures for Italy, where the number of people contracting the virus exceeded 4,000 and nearly 500 were killed by the virus on that day. And for the second paragraph, I chose to group Iran, Spain, and Germany because they have somehow similar numbers of total cases, and it is easier to group these 3 countries together. Now let's see. Standing at around the 1,500 mark, Iran, Spain, and Germany took the 3rd, 4th, and 5th positions, with Iran confirming only 1 new infection, while the other 2 was reported. Nearly 3,000 people diagnosed with coronavirus. Only 2 new deaths were recorded for Germany in comparison with more than 100. dying of COVID-19 in Iran and Spain on that particular day, with a total of just below 1,000 people being coronavirus positive. America took the last spot, registering a massive 3,000 new confirmed cases and a death toll of 41. I have highlighted some main features for you to see. The first one is all the 6 countries had new cases and new deaths. The second one, standing at around the 15,000 mark. How can I generalize this? You see, now for this table, you can see Iran, Spain, and Germany have similar numbers of total cases, 17,000, 14,000, and 12,000. So I put it 15,000 mark or 15,000 point to generalize these numbers. I don't list all the numbers because the listener will find it much more difficult to remember all the detail on the particular numbers or figures. They just know something in general. And I have also highlighted some languages for making comparison. For example, the most severely affected or the hardest hit, they are somehow the same when you want to compare the seriousness of coronavirus around the world. China was hardest hit, and Italy was the most severely affected country outside China. Then I use phrases like more than double, the second highest number, the smallest number, as opposed to that is 13 and 11, very small number, as opposed to the massive figures. The massive figure here include 4,500 compared with 13 and 11. So use the phrases as opposed to. And instead of saying exactly 4,207 new cases, you can say exceeded 4,000. And then you say took the 3rd, 4th, and 5th position. It is a way of making comparison. In comparison with just below, took the last spot, the 3rd, 4th, 5th position or spot, and then you say took the last spot. And a massive means a big number. So remember, you have to show the main features and you have to make comparison for this kind of writing. Now let's move on to another point in this tutorial. So first let's have a look at the table. You see, 6 countries are different, but they have somehow similar data about total cases, new deaths. So if you want to describe each one, then you have to repeat those phrases many times in your writing. So in order to avoid repeating words or phrases, you have to find synonyms or find other structures to express the same meaning. And let's see how I have used synonyms and different structure to express total cases or new cases. For example, new cases, I can say people testing positive for coronavirus. Or I can say people contracting the virus. Or I can say new infections, people diagnosed with coronavirus. or people being coronavirus positive, new confirmed cases. This is a way to avoid repeating the words or phrases. And how about new deaths? Instead of saying new deaths, at least 6 or 7 times in a writing, you can say new fatalities, or you use the structure 500 people were killed by the virus. You can say 100 people dying of COVID-19, or a death toll of 41. You see, no repeating. Besides, I want to focus on some verbs that can be used for this particular writing. You can use register or confirm or report or record. They have the same meanings for this particular writing. China registered the smallest number. Iran confirmed only 1 new infection. The other 2 countries were reported nearly 3,000 people. Only 2 new deaths were recorded. For Germany or America, registered a massive 3,000 new confirmed cases. So I have shown you how to write an effective paragraph graph description. I have shown you the structure of a graph description. I have shown you how to select the main features and make comparison. Then I have shown you the synonyms for total cases, new cases, for new deaths, and some common verbs you can use for this particular writing or any other writing related to the topic. So thank you for watching. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, just type in the comments. And remember, subscribe for new videos. Goodbye.